there's always a challenge in front of you. Like right now, it's another challenge, right? Each stage in your entrepreneurship life is gonna be a different challenge, no matter what it is. You just gotta pull your bootstraps and go to work and figure things out as you go. Ask the right questions. And I don't say ask the right questions, ask questions, because there's no such thing as a right or wrong question. It's more like keep asking, keep learning, keep putting yourself in the environment. Go to places where I always say breathe the same air. Go to places where people are at a level that you're trying to get to. You can't get to a level that you're not familiar with and being around the people you're trying to get to. If you're comfortable where you're at and the people you're around in the sense of like the level, cool, nothing wrong with that. But you aspire to go higher with something, you got to find people that's in higher places in a sense mentally, you know. And so, yeah.
1,000%. What up, though, Black Fridays family, and welcome to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. I have a doctor in the house, Dr. Leron Lightfoot. How you doing today, brother?
How's it going, sir?
Doing great.
Oh, yeah.
Doing great. Appreciate you pulling up, and would love to learn more about Math for Success, where you are taking your love of math and then being able to apply that to young folks, get them tutored, and get them in a much better position in terms of their education. So would you be able to share more with us about your journey and how it came about?
Okay, yeah. So Math for Success, first of all, is an education service provider that's that specialize in K through 12 education, as well as workforce development education, mainly focused on math and STEM. This whole idea came from the fact that going to grad school and seeing Asian culture, how they utilize math as their tool to, I guess, to get out the situation is something that I utilized growing up too as well. That I decided that why can't we make this a tool within our own community, that we could make this a valuable resource instead of like something that's considered like a I won't say detriment, but something that's a fear that students have, right? And so Math for Success was created to become a strong resource for inner city students to have access to great math education.
Absolutely. And you are not originally from Michigan, but spent a lot of time here in Michigan. Can you tell us where you're originally from, and then what similarities you see that kind of hinder students from excelling at math or any other STEM related classes in school, and then the parallels you see between where you grew up in Michigan?
Yeah, so I'm from Los Angeles, California, more specifically South Central Los Angeles, which is considered the inner city of Los Angeles, where education is not the best when it comes down to the school systems. What I was able to do when I was there was I was able to find a love for math at an early age, right? I played basketball and love math, but when I had to make a choice between hooping and my academics, I chose math when I was in high school as the tool that I wanted to put my time and effort into, right? I think my similarity to what I've seen growing up in LA and seeing like say Detroit or any inner city with majority Black students is that it's a lack of resources. And I think that we as a community can't provide those resources. And I think a lot of times we do a lot of, I don't say blame, but we kind of put a lot of energy towards saying that what can the state do, what can the federal government do, right? And I always say, let's start with ourselves. Let's figure out how can we utilize our own resources in our own community, because we all come from these inner city communities, that we could provide those level of resources ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what Math for Success was created by that mindset.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the work that you all have been doing. And how long has Math for Success been up and running?
5 years.
Congratulations on that. And I believe you say you had an anniversary coming up in June.
Yeah, so on June 2nd, that's when Math for Success had its first workshop. We celebrate our 5-year anniversary on June 10th next month. So we're looking forward to having a great celebration, inviting the team, inviting other members that have been supporting Math for Success since the beginning of time. And so we're planning on really having like a good festive event, but at the same time, sharing the love that all our team have for the community. And so we're actually doing a backpack drive or a school drive, back to school drive in August. And so that'll be the event that's going to be for the entire community. We're trying to solidify a location right now, but it's going to have everything from bounce houses to awards to all school supplies and so forth, and food. And so we want to celebrate the 5 years with the team and with the community. And, so June 10th is going to be the 5-year anniversary with the team and staff, and then August, date still tentative, it's going to be a community event for the 5-year celebration.
Gotcha. And it's really dope that the work that you and your staff has been able to put in around this, because like you said, it definitely takes a community effort in order to push our students along, especially in the Black community, and provide them with the resources that they need, because like you said, it is a lack of resources out there, and things that you would think is common knowledge we may not receive. Like I tell people all the time, they laugh at me. You've been in Detroit long enough, so you know about Cass Tech. I went to Cass Tech, and when I tell people like we didn't have enough books or we didn't have enough toilet paper at a certain point in time, they're like, yeah, it's no way. Like that don't even make sense. Like you went to Cass Tech, one of the biggest high school in my opinion, but in the city, and you don't have these bare minimum resources. I'm like, it's a real thing. So, that's what inspired me. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but I have a nonprofit organization called The Collab, where we teach students about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and then also different creative skills. And that's what allowed me and my brothers who came together to start that nonprofit, the community aspect, and knowing what we know and what would have helped us back then, and then being able to input that to these students today, because it's a big need for it. And then just working with them, different opportunities I have to volunteer or mentor with that organization, others, like you can tell that there's a huge need for these things. Oh, yeah,
that's dope, man. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, one of the things that I always commend anybody that's doing anything that's trying to uplift and bring empowerment to the community, I'm always going to salute, because that's one of the things that we have to do way more of, and we definitely need to collaborate in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we definitely going to have to figure that out. And in the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to my favorite section of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays. So coming from Cali, I hope you got some type of bars, man. You gotta hold up. You gotta put the West Coast on your shoulders right now.
All right, let's get it.
So you don't have to freestyle or nothing, but it is a random assortment of questions that's about you. So I just ask that you answer each one and you answer honestly. Okay. All right, let's do it. So you have a PhD. You have multiple degrees, doing pretty well. Engineer by education, correct? I need to know, have you ever skipped a class?
Skip like one class, one day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't skip many though.
Okay. Because I grew up loving school, so I hated not going to school. But when I was a senior, I definitely participated in skip day.
Oh yeah, skip day. I skipped classes in college too. Here and there. But yeah, wasn't many though. I actually love going to school, so I was one of those kids that had perfect attendance a lot. Growing up. So
occasionally you just need a day off.
Oh yeah. Oh, you want to see what that whole lifestyle is like? Oh, they out there leaving school. Let me just see what's going on over there real quick. There's people over there real quick.
But the funny thing is, what you realize, it ain't much going on outside of school during the day. Like it's not a whole lot going on. So I don't know what they be doing, but they was figuring it out.
Oh yeah.
What was a subject that you hated in school?
Oh, reading and writing, by far. That was like, I'll get through math. I suck with reading, and like I was one of the kids that always wanted to hide behind other kids, and like when they had like the read out loud time, I'm like trying not to try to avoid all that. So that was definitely my the subjects I hated the most.
For sure. And ironically enough, mine was math. Like I tried to run away from math. So interesting. What's the first car you ever owned?
1997 Toyota Camry. Oh yeah.
And how old were you when you got it?
I got that in 2004, so I was like 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to 97 Camry. I think my first car was a 97 Mercury Tracer.
Yeah. A word? Okay, because mine's it lasted till 2013. you know, till the transmission went out. So
it held on strong for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, what's your favorite album of all time?
Ooh. It's a good one. I had to say Kendrick Lamar to Pimp a Butterfly. That's still one of my favorite classics. I don't know. The album is, to this day, it's a dope album.
I think that's underrated in his catalog, and I agree with you. I think people they get caught up in Good Kid, Mad City, but yeah, to Pimp a Butterfly is my personal favorite of his.
I think from the track from beginning to end, and like this, like what it's telling, the story it's telling, I think it's the most creative artwork ever put together.
Facts,
you know?
Facts. And last but not least, what's the most random job you ever had?
It's probably being a security officer for concerts.
Okay.
So that was one of the jobs I did in high school. Pretty much, you told like just try to figure out how to make some money while doing bare minimum work. That was one of those jobs. But we saw some dope little concerts though. We saw Lil Wayne, seen different concerts. But we were talking, me and my boy, we had the yellow jacket. We were the yellow jacket security. And, we like saw a loophole. Like it's so many of us in the arena, they didn't know who working what, right? So we took all the yellow jackets off, hid behind something, went to the concert because we had like the access to everything, front row the whole concert, come back, grab my jacket at the end.
And she said you worked the whole shift.
Worked the whole shift. Like, oh yeah.
Right.
Random job.
Y'all was undercover security.
Oh yeah.
Well, shout out to you for engaging in Freestyle Fridays and successfully passing. So would like to go back into your story and would love for you to be able to tell us and the people watching and listening, what are the services that's involved in Math for Success and how are you helping these young folks?
Yes, so we offer private and in-person, private math tutoring services where we offer in-person and virtual services. We do after-school programs as well. We do STEM workshops. We provide SAT, ACT test prep, and we do workforce development as well for young adult or for adults as well. Nice.
And then I saw that you also have a coding component to what it is that you all do. How has that gotten thrown in the mix of services?
So Math for Success was built around taking talent from corporate America and bringing it back into the community, right? So a lot of our staff are corporate working individuals, right? And so they have access to, they have a lot of different talents in a way, right? Some are programmers, some are engineers, some are business administrators, but the main focus was to be able to take that talent and bring it back to the community. And so we had all these different skill sets. So the coding aspect comes from our own team, our team of coders, programmers, right? Mm-hmm. They have math skills and they have the skills to be able to program. Like myself, I got a very extensive background because I did computer engineering as an undergrad. So I have a very extensive coding background as well. So that's one of the things that we try to take whatever resources we have on the team and try to provide a way to bring that exposure to the community, bring exposure to the youth in a sense, right? And so we, I wish, like after we done with this podcast, I want to show you some videos of some of the coding workshops that we do because we really go hard, like in depth with the coding and not just drag and drop. It's actually writing the language and actually learn the coding language and typing it up because that's the real way to get to really be to lead you to a career that could be lost a word, but sustainable, yeah. So
for sure, yeah. No, I would definitely love to see that, and I'm curious as to you all have been at it for 5 years now, coming up. What was it like for you to be able to build a team around Math for Success? Because obviously you have your love and passion for math. That might not be the case for everybody else, but like, how do you kind of get people to come together and be on board for the overall mission?
That's a good question. So we get asked that question a lot, and one of the things I always say, like the energy, people, I believe in this thing that good energy attract good energy, right? I believe that people that have the same passion and mission will be attracted to those same people. And I think that's pretty much what happened, right? Because when I put the word out there about Math for Success, people that were intrigued by the idea of doing something like this for the community came, in a sense, right? So it wasn't really me necessarily recruiting as much. It was more like this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it, and then they all came on board seeing the work being done. That's pretty much how it worked, how it started up. And then as it continued to grow, we may put out the ad to, say we're hiring in a way, right? But at the same time, it's like the same thing. The main part of the interview thing to identify if they're heart into it, right? Or if their mission, are they trying to make real change in the community, or are they just trying to get paid? Two different things, right? So that's our main focus on recruiting and providing that avenue for people that wants to provide a level of impact to the community.
And I'm curious as to, for at least the tutoring services, how do you kind of vet out talent to be able to support your students with that? Because when I didn't utilize tutoring until I got to college. So if I would have had the Math for Success around in high school, but better yet, if I even had money for Math for Success in high school, or felt like I had it to make that investment earlier on, I probably would have done much better with math a lot sooner and would have challenged myself more. But I remember like the pedigree of people who tutored in college, and it was okay. Sometimes some people just don't know how to deal with people, but they get the numbers and stuff. So I'm curious how your process is in terms of vetting like tutors for the different subjects.
So we do a training, first of all, right? We have first part of the onboarding, or part of the interview process, is that they have to teach us a problem. Like we give them a math problem and they teach it to us live, right? And that's one level, right? But on top of it, we don't necessarily say, oh, you did a terrible job, you can't work for us. It's more like we'll teach you the ropes, so like little pointers on how to go about tutoring, right? And so we actually do a training with the staff first, right? And then the last part of the training is they'll actually tutor a student live while one of us is there in the room, so we can give little pointers here and there. And so the student don't necessarily will leave out still getting the impact or getting what they need, but at the same time, this tutor is able to learn valuable, skills in the sense of doing it live with an actual student that's looking for actual service. So we try to have a math process way towards a lot of stuff because we know that things can be taught different ways. We try to give them like good examples on things what you should not do when certain situation happen, and what's a better way of handling it. And so we try to find all those pointers. And a lot of times, what happens is they take those lessons and then they become. It's almost like you go. I'm not sure you eat at Chick-fil-A or eat at certain places, right? Certain places you have the same level of energy coming in, right? No matter what city, who's behind the register, what's going on, right? They'll have the same level of service almost, right? You'll never hear too many people say they complain about Chick-fil-A or this one location is ghetto or whatever, right? They don't really hear that too much, right? They kind of consistent across the board, and that's how our staff is. We try to stay consistent across the board by having good process in place.
Love that, because, and I think a lot of businesses in general could learn some lessons from that approach, because we don't always see that. And sometimes, like you said, you get people who just want to work a job and make some money, and they just get thrown out there, and they're not the best representation of that particular business or that brand. So I think that I love that approach, and would like to know your thoughts on the importance of STEM and representation from Black students, Black people in general in STEM related fields, given that you all are doing the work that you're doing. It's community driven, community focused, and targeted towards young people in the city of Detroit, which is going to be majority Black. So just want to know like your opinion, somebody who's of color and in a STEM related field or done that type of work.
Twofold to that. So the first thing I want to mention is it's a very the career in STEM is I would say it's a lot of jobs that's needed in that space, right? So it's a lot of job security in that space, right? So you don't necessarily hear a lot of people in that space where they're bouncing around too much, right? It's very stable. Second fold is if I'm a Black individual in this field, right? The most ideal position or job I could go to, you worked out there in Microsoft in Seattle. I worked at GM as an electrical engineer in Warren Tech Center, right? One thing that we probably both could relate to, that there's not a lot of us in those spaces a lot of times, right? The more we see each other in these spaces, the more it's fun to go to work in those spaces, right? And so that's the value of providing that avenue for more of us to get into the space, because it'll make the job much more funner as we go into the space. We'll learn how to bring each other up in the space, because now we have more clout and more power. Power come with numbers too, right? And so I think that's the avenue. That's the reason why I think that we should have more of us in the space of STEM, because first of all, it's not many of us in there. Second thing is I think it will make a huge impact on how to generate that level of, I guess, that pathway into the pathway to prison, not the pathway to STEM. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that comes with having numbers, having the resources. And so.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, because I know for me starting in tech, my very first job, I worked in automotive, and I was the youngest, and it wasn't any representation of color really in the entire office. And then when I matriculated to tech, I had an opportunity to meet like up front the other black people who were working in different fields, and we had a chance to kind of like all connect and find community within that, and it made work so much easier. It still does, like different organizations and groups that surround the work that we do, and just being able to have like that relation point, and like for me it makes work like 10 times easier, because I can break down something that may be complex or kind of like foreign and be able to talk to somebody else about it, and excuse me, we understand each other perfectly on how you can break certain things down and explain it and have those explanations. So I agree with you 100%. And as far as working with students on a core STEM topic such as math, what challenges do you kind of see when they enter tutoring or enter any of your programming, and then once they complete it or finish it?
I would say the main thing I see is the conversation that's being held in the household, right? A lot of times, and a lot of students come in with the mindset that they can't be good at math, or that math is not meant for them, and that and so one of the things we always tell parents is to change what's being said around the student, because a lot of times they may say, my child struggled with math, always struggled with math, they never be good at math, but they need to get by this semester. We like that a child being told that all their life, mm-hmm. is going to cause them to think they can't do this stuff, right? And so once we start building that, first of all, we always say we build the confidence first for the student. We get them to understand that you trust the process, you can achieve, right? A lot of times, that beginning of that first phase, we like, over the head, right? But we repeat it again, right? Just trust the process. When they go through and learn, like this first problem, they actually did it right by themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, it worked. They shocked, right? I like apply the same method to the next problem. Oh, it worked. And then as they continue to go down, like, oh, I can do all of these. Because now they're building confidence, now they actually trusting the process now, right? Mm-hmm. Now when we add a more complex thing to it, right? We say it's the same thing. Trust what you just taught and just apply it. And then they start realizing, like, I don't have to guess. I'm not just making a number. I'm not trying to look at the last problem and say, I see a 5 over here, I'll put a 5 over here. Mm-hmm. No, don't worry about the last problem. Just focus on this and apply the process. And once they do that and actually start believing in themselves in the process, that's when it starts clicking, like, I could do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And once you get that aha moment, then you start letting them know, okay, let's keep going now. Let's keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then that's when another part that comes across with that is they tend to think that, like we work with DAT7. You familiar with DAT7?
Yep.
One of the things they asked us at the very beginning, we started doing a partnership with them like 4 years ago. They asked us, why does the student indicate on the survey that math for fun? What kind of fun activity y'all do with them? We're like, we don't do no extra, like, let's sing songs, let's do games. We just teach the material, but it becomes fun because they actually understand the material. Mm. It's just like anything else. If you're able to go to the hoop and knock down a couple of shots, you're like, basketball my thing. Mm-hmm. You airball all, like, I don't know, this is for me. Right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it becomes fun based around the fact that you feel like you're good at it. And that's the key.
Facts. Facts. And do you have any success stories of students that you work with, or any personal stories of tutoring students?
We have several, but let's see. One was father came to me. And he said that his son has a trouble with retaining information, right? And that you may teach him one day, but then by next week he might not be able to retain what you just taught him, right? And I remember I mentioned to him, I hear what you say, I understand. And I did like a assessment with the student, right? And one thing I always told the father, like, I know that's how you see it, but let's not say anymore in front of him in that way, right? Because I think that he's believing that he can't retain it because it's being said to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the father, it was hard for him to step back a little bit from saying certain things. He's decided he'll take my advice and step back and not say anything, and keep only positive messages to his son, right?
Mm-hmm.
His son went from, I'm not sure what grade, I know he wasn't doing too well in his class, but he went from probably having like a D or C in the class to becoming one of the top students in the class.
Mm.
And he was able to go take his SAT. He went from having, I guess, a very low scoring math section SAT to over exceeding what his dad thought he could do on the math section SAT, all in within a 3-month time frame. And I remember his dad left this long voicemail like, Dr. Lightfoot, you're right. And he was able to qualify for Detroit Promise, and he was able to go, and I think he was trying to go to University of Michigan on a full ride because of Detroit Promise, all this other stuff. So all that stuff just kind of down effect. Like, but he went from having 8 something SAT, which I'm not sure you know with the scoring system, but for Detroit Promise, you gotta have like a 1060 or higher, and so he went from an 850 to like an 11 something in a 3-month time frame of going through our services, and which was a huge jump in that time frame. And and majority of the score came from the math section of the test. So yeah.
So my next question is, where was y'all when I was going to college? Because if I would have scored higher on my SAT and ACT, I would have got a full ride, or at least my tuition paid for when I went to Michigan. And we both know college ain't cheap. So I needed y'all back then.
Now we here to stay though. No. So when your kid come through, hey, your kid's good.
Say less. Say less.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to know, what, if any, challenges did you have in starting Math for Success and creating this business? Like, what was that journey like for you?
So going through undergrad, receive my bachelor's degree, go to grad school, receive my master, continue my thing to PhD, right? Did all this school, South school, a long time, had no break in between, right? Start working at General Motors. 2 years in, I'm like, this ain't for me. But I need some other way out. So the journey was like, or the hardest part was trying to figure out what my true passion was and how to make it successful. How to be, I'm making good money at GM, got very stable lifestyle. I'm like, cool, everything's good, but my heart wasn't there. And so making that leap, that was the hardest part. How do you leave something that you worked all this time to get all these degrees and all this other stuff going on, to say deuces and do something that start brand new for something that you had no expertise in, which is running the business. That was a hard decision, but I knew my heart was always committed towards this side. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in an environment like come to Bamboo or going to Tech Town, going to different places with other entrepreneurs, and just breathe the same air as them, right? Because I want to know what's their story, how they was able to get to this point, right? You had different people in entrepreneur space in different levels, right? One thing they always said, the ones that was, had a higher success in the sense of financial success with the business, they all left their job. They put their full focus in that entrepreneurship, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the one thing I started realizing, right? If I wanted to get to the next level, I had to find the time to put all my eggs in the basket. Second thing was, I knew that, so the challenge was now, how do you deal with people? How do you build a staff? How do you build a team? One of my things, I'm a people person, so I have a lot of, I'm able to create friendship with people over time with ease, right? And so I utilize that part of who I am, and to reach out and get people motivated towards this mission, right? Because when people came in and say, hey, how can I help along? I was able to say, hey, I need help with this. Came in with that, came in with this. Because a lot of people that came in the first year, they wasn't really getting paid. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of volunteer work for real. And I'm always be grateful to to them. But it's one of the things where they came off the strength of the love and the passion, the mission of Mad for Success. Because I'm just trying to figure things out. I ain't got no money to pay nobody. I'm just like, let's make this impact. Who's on board, right?
Right.
So the fact that they was able to jump on board, put the time and energy toward this thing, I'm always going to be grateful for those individuals. And so I think that I guess answer your question is, there's always a challenge in front of you. Like right now, it's another challenge, right? Each stage in your entrepreneurship life, it's going to be a different challenge, no matter what it is. You just got to pull your bootstraps and go to work and figure things out as you go. Ask the right questions. And I don't say ask the right questions, ask questions, because there's no such thing as a right or wrong question. It's more like keep asking, keep learning, keep putting yourself in the environment. Go to places where I always say breathe the same air. Go to places where people are at a level that you're trying to get to. You can't get to a level that you're not familiar with and being around the people you're trying to get to. If you're comfortable where you're at and the people you're around in the sense of like the level, cool, nothing wrong with that. But you aspire to go higher with something, you got to find people that's in higher places in a sense mentally, And so, yeah.
1,000%. And what resources were you able to use when you made that transition? So I know that you all are based out of Tech Town, but want to know, like, did you utilize any of their resources? Were you able to find others? Like, what helped you get to where you are now?
It's a combination. So we had our first workshop we worked, which is one downtown. I had a friend that had a membership there, and she was like, hey, I got some hour for this conference room. You can use it. Cool. Free. Cool. The other thing was identifying like all the entrepreneurial resource that was being taught at Bamboo or Tech Town or different places. Go to all the different forums, like just learn about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, like what resources are provided here. And so those were the type of things I did at the very beginning. I made sure that I'm big on numbers when it comes to like money and stuff like that. So I know I want to put myself in a very deep hole in a way, but I always knew that if I make that leap, what can I utilize to weather the storm, right? And so one of the things I knew that I had a 401k, right, that I had utilized, right? So I always said that would be my somewhat security blanket if it all fails, right?
Right.
And so, but I always said that is for my mental state. Like, I got a daughter, I got, I got other things I got to make sure that it's not just me that's failing,
right?
Right.
Right.
So, and believe in yourself, man. Like, I think a lot of times, people always say, "When's the right time?" The right time is now, no matter what you're trying to do. If you're trying to change your health, doing a healthy lifestyle, the time is now. If you're trying to start a business, the time is now. If you're trying to travel, the time is now. There's never no right time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I'm inspired with you just saying that. So definitely appreciate you breaking that down. Also, do you have a mentors, or people that you look up to that instill certain lessons into you and guide you through your journey?
And I think mentors, this is what I'll say, mentors could be mentor for certain stages in your journey, right? If you're, to analogy, like say you're trying to be an NBA star, right? You might have a mentor that's in high school that will get you to that college level. But that mentor in high school may not be the one that get you to NBA level, right? So there might be different stages. You might have different mentors at, right? So yes, I do have mentors, and I have mentors at different stages of the journey, right? I'm always constantly looking for additional mentors because there are different stages I'm trying to get to that maybe this other mentor may not be able to get me to that other level, right? And so always, and there's quite a few that, I definitely got to, show appreciation for, for mentors that are doing things in similar spaces as mine, and then mentors that just wanted to share resources that just know what you need as an entrepreneur to get to the next level, right? Or just someone that's gonna inspire you by sharing their journey with you. You know what I'm saying? those type of mentors. Like I'm always like, I don't never put them all in the same box. I always say, I know what this individual's, how this person plays a role in my journey. I know how this other individual plays a role in my journey. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you may not always say, because they're a mentor, don't mean that everything they say you have to use as facts towards your business, right?
Right.
You got to figure out what can you take and extract and apply, and the things that you may not want to use, right? Because sometimes people think that a mentor, whatever they say is like facts towards your business, but not everyone knows exactly what your true vision is to you. So you have to know what you're trying to get to. Because one of my mentors mentioned to me, he said, you're doing work that he wanted me to focus on students that are already succeeding a lot, right? He said, take them to the whole nother level, right? But he saw it as, you know, it's a great avenue for, like, it's better for storytelling, right? You have a student with MIT, student that go here, right? But I told him, I said, I hear what you're saying. I know why you're saying it. I'm not saying that we don't want to focus on students too, but my reason for Math for Success was not necessarily those students directly, right? It was the student that needed our help to get to the next level, to be able to say, okay, I built a level of confidence in my math skills. And I had to tell myself that this is what I'm going to stay focused on. Even though one of my mentors was telling me something different, but I understand why he was saying it. And I didn't say, oh, I knew that I had to make a decision on who the main focal point is going to be, and I made that decision. But all the other things that he always mentioned, valuable stuff, right? He said, one other thing he told me too. He said, no student shouldn't feel forced to be part of a program, right? Meaning that, you know, and so what we implemented with our classes, right, before we go into any after-school program or any class, we have the students read a message, read out loud, sound like a contract basically, saying that they understand why they're here and they want to be here in a way, right? And so we want them to understand that you have a choice in life. This is not being forced upon you. If you find the value in this, then you will put your full effort towards this, right? If you find no value in this, you'll be a distraction. You know? Yeah. And so that's the decision that they have to make. Not your mama, not your daddy. You have to make as an individual. And that's the main thing we want to get the students to understand, that everything in life is a choice, and that's one of my mentors, he always told me, make sure the students have a choice in this. Don't make it feel like they're being forced to do this. And once they mentally click that way, say, okay, this is a choice. This is something I made a decision that I want to commit to. I signed my name on that line. Go to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what do you see in your crystal ball? What's next for Math for Success? What's next for you?
Oh, just continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to make impact, right? We're constantly trying to find ways to be better at what we do, basically. Continue, never end the process. Yeah.
And for anybody watching who is interested in being a tutor or looking to participate in any of your programming, how can they get in touch with you? What's all your social handles, website, all that good stuff?
All right, so the website is www.mathforsuccess.org. So it's MATH, the number 4, SUCCESS.org. And Instagram is Math for Success, or at Math for Success, which is MATH, the number 4, SUCCESS. And Facebook is Math space 4 space Success. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn as well. But and then you want to email us, we're info@mathforsuccess.org.
Perfect. And all you adults out there that's still counting with your fingers and your toes, y'all need to tap in and possibly get some tutoring as well. It's not just for young folks. That's right.
Oh yeah. At all ages.
All ages. Love it. So, Dr. Lightfoot, this was a pleasure. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. I think that there's a lot of value, like I said earlier, in the work that you do and the mission that you have. So, appreciate you for doing that and appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right. And y'all, I'll tap in with y'all soon. Peace.